Buddy, welcome to Daily Energy. My name is Patrick Thompson, here with Erick English and Cody. What's your last name?
Kretsinger.
Kretsinger, there you go. So what we're going to discuss today is a little bit about security for breaches, malware, ransomware, all that good stuff for virus protection and just protecting your business for the most part. But Erick English here, security analyst at Cyan Incorporated, right?
Correct, yes.
And then Cody, you work in the Bloomington department?
Yeah, I'm a senior security analyst for the same company.
Perfect. Awesome. You're a Cardinals fan, right?
I am a Cardinals fan, unfortunately.
As am I.
All right.
They're,
man.
They're not playing right now, but it's all right.
It's the one time I really don't feel like in the minority.
Yeah.
Next season.
It's great, yeah.
So, sticking on a little bit of a sports topic, this past week, the Cubs, they are leading 3-2 now in the NLCS. Go Game 6 tomorrow on Saturday. And, they might make it to the World Series.
Going up against Kershaw, so it's going to be a tough one. Saw what he did to him in Wrigley, so he's a heck of a pitcher. They're going to have to find something different, a different approach or something, because they had a tough time in Chicago against them. So, but they're kind of starting to swing the bats a little bit, and it's a good sign.
For
some of the guys that are Rizzo and Russell that are struggling. Yeah, for Cubs fans it is. Yeah.
You guys remember seeing the Kershawing meme back when the Cardinals were playing them?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We haven't seen that yet, so it might pop up tomorrow.
He's got a lot of little mannerisms and stuff. He's got that really funky kind of double hitch release and stuff where he still throws the ball 96 miles an hour, and it's got a crazy curveball. So
it's still early.
Yeah, it's no doubt. Even last night with an 8-2 lead, man. I don't know what Chapman was doing, if he was just kind of trying some different things, just throwing some off-speed pitches and some breaking balls and stuff that weren't really, either getting hit or weren't really kind of hitting his spots and stuff. So I don't know if just with that big lead he wasn't real focused, and but
what inning did he come in?
He came in the ninth.
Okay.
Yeah, in the bottom of the ninth. They were up 8-2 or 8th. Cool. It might have been. Yeah, I don't know if it was 8-2 or 8-3 at that time. I don't know if Strope gave up one, but I think he ended up giving up 2 in the ninth, which is, not a big. When you have that big of a lead, he hadn't had a lot of work, so they just tried to bring him in and get him some more work because we obviously have 2 pretty important games on Saturday and Sunday, so he needs to be ready.
Very important.
So yeah.
Changing gears to the NFL a little bit. Bears played the Packers last night.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, I'm a Packers fan as well.
Nice.
I know they needed that win and him to get back on track. He actually set a Green Bay record for most completions in a game.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, of course he does. Of course he does it against the Bears, man. He seems to always do stuff like that against the Bears, man.
They're saying, all right, I had a lady this morning I was talking with, she said that the Bears shouldn't even win another game the rest of the season just so they can get the number 1 pick.
That's exactly what I said. Yep, that's exactly what I said.
They might need it.
Yeah, Hoyer Hoyer was having a great season. Covering for Cutler. Yeah, he had 4 straight games over 300 yards and no interceptions or something. I think they said he had tied.
It was pretty close.
He joined Drew Brees and Peyton Manning were the only other 2 in NFL history to do that, or some crazy stat like that. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then he breaks his arm. It's like, okay, well, there you go. That about sums it up.
Luck of the Bears, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. I think Chris Long went out, too. What's his name? Kyle Long? Chris Long.
Kyle, I believe.
Yeah, their offensive lineman went out, too, so.
Rough.
Yeah,
I
know. So, oh well.
Yeah. But Cyan Incorporated, Erick, tell the listeners briefly about that and what do you guys do?
Sure. Internet security is a good way to sum it up. We basically, watch your network 24/7, keep people out of it, protect your data. We have two data centers, one in downtown Peoria, one in Bloomington.
Okay.
So we have it's called co-location, the disaster recovery, backup in one data center, and we'll keep it in the other one as well, and you kind of have the redundancy between the two. And then Cody, does the security part of it. So he's constantly on the lookout for the trends and what's going on and how to protect our clients and keep them safe and keep that data where it's supposed to be in their hands and their on their servers. those servers could be, on our network or on someone else's, or within our data centers, I guess, or even someone else's, and we can remotely monitor those, or if they're in our data centers, we're right there 24/7. We can make sure that that's safe. Yeah. So in a nutshell, it's kind of what we do for all types of businesses. I mean, small, medium, large, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the scope doesn't really matter.
So is somebody working 24/7 then? Is that you, Cody?
I don't want to, but sometimes it feels like it. No, there is somebody there 24/7.
Wow.
And we do a lot of monitoring for businesses. So if they have some kind of security protocol, they'll hire us to remotely monitor their infrastructure to make sure that it is secure. And in the event that something does happen, we can either respond in real time, or we can pick up a phone call and make a phone call to that client and say, hey, it looks like there's a problem. You need to get into the office because you could have, any number of different bad situations happening.
And that's like someone trying to get in and take like monetary values or anything like that, or
it could be anything from a virus outbreak, somebody clicking on an email they probably shouldn't, and all the way to data exfiltration, which means you've got either a rogue actor, a hacker, if you will, or you've got a disgruntled employee that is getting information from your network and trying to get it out of the building. The systems that we use can monitor for all of those things and can detect and block those situations from happening in near real time.
Gotcha. So it's much more than just like when people think of breaches, malware, ransomware. For me, anyways, I think of like viruses, virus protection. What you guys do is much, much more than that.
Well, you actually hit on the most common thing that we run into, right? The same things that affect run-of-the-day people also affect big businesses. And big businesses have to ensure that there are the protocols and countermeasures there to protect them, but they've also got a laundry list of other security problems that they have to be able to detect. So ransomware is a huge one, and one that we really, really harped on at Go Secure, our little conference that we had last week. It was last week.
A week ago yesterday.
Yep. And that's the big thing out right now is ransomware and how it affects companies. Everything from healthcare to mom and pop shops down to just normal everyday individuals.
Okay.
And it's basically, so someone, gets an email, click on a link, opens up, and sometimes it doesn't deploy right then and there. It sits on their system and can just be gathering information. But it's all education. It's all just, that's the problem with, with big companies is, you can buy, tons of different software and buy all these services and put a bunch of money into it. But when it really comes down to it, if your employees aren't educated and they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're looking for, all it takes is one of them to open, and it can infect your entire network in seconds, really.
Absolutely. And that's the target. When companies hire us to do penetration tests or engagements, the weakest link is generally the end users. So when we do phishing campaigns, sending a lot of emails to these users at a company, we are targeting them because they are generally the most susceptible to click on things or allow us access in without them knowing about it. So that's generally who we try to target through these big engagements, other than going after the low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
Okay.
So he's a white hat hacker. So he's a good guy hacker.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when he does a pen test or a risk assessment or something, he's actually hacking into a net. They know it. We contract with the company and they know it, but he has all these different things that he can do to try to break into a network, and one of them is like a phishing campaign. And I'm sure he could tell you, you'd be amazed at how many times that works. It's still, even if you've got like 50 people in the company and you say, hey, if you don't know who it's coming from, don't click on it.
Right.
Send it to your IT guy or send it to whomever, have them look at it.
In
Right?
fact, there was a company that hired us, and I've got to be real careful because the majority of these engagements have a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't talk about certain details of them, but I can say things like they were a company of around 50 people, and the time that I started the engagement until the time I completely owned their entire network, or the time that I was able to get access to everything that I needed access to, was like a half an hour.
Oh my goodness.
And that was purely through one individual.
Wow.
And just it's a deck of cards, and it all fell from there.
But put that one individual in a company of 5,000 people.
Yes.
Imagine, that's all it takes. And so, so like a phishing campaign is, I'm sure you kind of get the idea. So that's a target kind of against a company. So it's just to kind of see who's vulnerable, who's susceptible to opening up whatever. Well, so then like what these guys will do, these bad guy hackers will do, is they're good enough that they'll say, okay, well, this guy opened up this email. Maybe there was nothing to the email. There was nothing malicious with it, but it gave him an idea. If this guy's he's susceptible, I'm going to target him the next time around, just him. Create an email, have it come from his boss's email, with, hey, I want you to check out this Excel. Just check it over, make sure it's okay. And they target that guy. It's called spear phishing. So there's out of 5,000 people, maybe there's just one guy that is, and then
with the boss's email on there as well, but the boss doesn't receive it either.
So it looks like it's coming from the boss.
It's coming from the boss. They'll mask it. Yeah, they'll create an email. Oh yeah, they know what they're doing. Absolutely, they can make it look like it's coming from a trusted party. So they open it and click on a link or open a file or whatever.
A good example of that is we had another engagement where there was a multi-branch bank, and they had a CEO that had a son in Boy Scouts. And being an Eagle Scout myself, I know all of the inner workings of it. So I crafted an email that looked very official and wanted some very basic information, and managed to open an attachment that was completely malicious. And he did, and we were in, and that's how we were able to do it. But that is spear phishing, and it is insanely effective.
Right. And I mean, something like that probably took Cody an hour to do, half hour to do, I'm
awful in Photoshop. That's the link. It took a long time in Photoshop.
Grab a logo and put a link in, and and some of these guys are getting better with like the Google Translate, so they'll make up some text and then throw in the translator. Well, they're getting better now, where they, and some of this stuff isn't just originating from Russia and China. It's happening in the U.S. too.
Right.
It's not just everybody thinks it's these, evil, countries attacking us. It's not necessarily always the case. It happens here too.
So here's something that I've experienced multiple times over the last 2 years of working at Anytime Fitness. So I have my personal email, and that's just what I use for business as well, sometimes. And I will receive like an email from, let's say, John Doe or whatever. John Doe's, he's typically saying, hey, are you available for fitness training? I have 3 children or 3 daughters or something is what it usually says like that. Do you accept whatever? I mean, he's looking for some training. Sure. And then his daughters or sons, and I was just like, this is not real. There's no way. And like I couldn't, like, I was whatever. But then I received one within probably the last 6 months. Just deleted it, and then I received another one. Now I'm just like, okay, this is a joke. It's all the same.
Yep.
Like,
so block. I mean, that's where you set up some sort of a block. Try to
So as a like a email user, you can go in and set up a blockage for you.
There's a number of different things that you can do. There's known spam lists where scammers and whatnot are added to. Those are generally with like enterprise level products, or there's some filters that you can subscribe to that routes your email through it. That can take care of things like that. But the biggest thing really to note here is that you didn't automatically just say, all right, give me your credit card number and we'll get you in. You actually asked questions, and you did better than probably 90% of the people who would have gotten that email. Yeah. So it's good. It's always question those things. If you don't, if it seems just a little off, more than likely it is.
Right. And I know that you guys got hit. I mean, Doug mentions it all the time. A couple years ago, he got hit by ransomware.
That
was,
I remember that.
And I think it ended up where he just scrapped the machine and he didn't pay, but that's a perfect example. I mean,
we lost a lot of photos.
Yep.
I know it was just like things that we used for creating content for like advertising and stuff like that. And we'd go to look for something, and we were like, it's not even on here anymore. Yeah. Like, what happened? And then we found out that
generally it deletes it or encrypts it. Puts a password on it so you can't get into it. And and going back to the email thing, so we're actually a Barracuda reseller, and Barracuda is a very well known anti-spam, filter on your, you could put on your network, and
Gotcha.
we install them, we monitor them, we do
Manage
all
them.
of that, manage
Yeah.
them essentially.
Big thing.
Yeah. So that's something that companies that maybe have more than 20, 30, 40 employees that have their own email, aren't using a Gmail or something,
Right.
can use this Barracuda and protect themselves even more.
So now a question for you guys is, did they receive my email from maybe like a list that I signed up for that regards fitness training or personal training, and then they get into their
Yeah.
system? And then
That's a good question. Yeah.
Email lists, they're like phone numbers now. That
Okay.
It's to the point where you could sign up for a legitimate account or newsletter or something. You could, whatever it may be that's legitimate, and they'll sell that to somebody else for marketing, and then that marketing company will then sell it to somebody else, so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
That's one way. The other way is that there's just they'll go through people's hacked email accounts for email addresses, or they will breach an actual website and then grab the email addresses off of that and then use it for their campaigns to try to scam people. There's
crazy.
Don't trust it if you don't know exactly who it came
Right.
from.
Don't ever post we're at the time now where don't ever post your email on a website. Don't do a contact form or something where it
Okay.
but
That's actually a very
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
Just don't put. I mean,
Yeah.
I know for me, I think I have my email listed on my website, so I will be changing
there,
that.
I mean, there you go, right there. That's probably. I mean, I guarantee it. That's
if you're a
probably how they
hacker
got-
and you're listening to this, don't listen to my email.
Well, I mean, they are going to websites and scraping, that information. And if they can find an email address, then they just add it to their list and keep blasting it off.
And they've got tools that do that automatically for them. That's
Yeah.
not anything that's really hard to do. I mean, yeah. So
Is the initiative so they can eventually gain money out of this, or what is?
find the good gullible person. That's all. They send out 1,000. All they need is one to just say, yeah, here's my, what do you need or whatever,
Right.
and they get some Bitcoin out of a couple Bitcoin, and that's about $1,000 or something.
And more than likely, the transaction wouldn't actually have transpired being a credit card at the very end. He would have worked, or they would have worked it down to money order or a cashier's check or a check or something, and it would have been over the amount than what you guys had previously, discussed.
Bank
And
account credential.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
Money grant. I mean, a million other ways. There's a lot of different ways to scam money. But it legitimately could have been a credit card that they were trying to see whether or not it would work.
So if you listeners out there on Facebook or on the radio, definitely think about anything that's happened like this, and maybe think about if you need some protection on your computer or device that you use for your security, I guess. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So be thinking about that for sure. And then let's go into some hot topics right now.
Sure.
We got the debate rolling, right? I have a couple other things about baseball and football in college, but we won't go too much into the debate here. I mean,
Thank you.
it's like a comic.
It is. It's like a circus. It really
The
is.
one bad thing about it is that it completely polarizes everyone immediately.
Yep.
And it's just, I'm sick and tired. It just,
You've got people arguing that shouldn't be arguing, and I don't need.
The other countries, like I'm gonna say Canada, for example, they're probably like, what are they doing? They're probably just laughing.
They're snickering at us.
you know what's I talked to a number of individuals in the UK, and they just had Brexit, right? So the big thing where they exited the European Union,
Oh, okay.
and they make fun of us still because of this presidential election. They can't get over how absolutely ridiculous it is.
Yeah, I don't
It's
even,
pretty.
I don't even get involved
It
in it
is.
really.
Yeah,
So
right.
It's just
I mean, get out and vote. Don't not vote. But
vote locally, especially.
Absolutely, that's a
but
big thing.
there's two people I wouldn't suggest voting for.
Vote for Erick English.
Yeah, right.
Right
You
in.
can write me in. I could. Yeah, whatever. I could protect your network.
There you go.
There, I mean,
And that's
yeah.
maybe what they need. Actually.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, Hillary especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, here we go. Baseball. We were talking about
Good segue.
Cardinals, Cubs, and in game 2 or 3, I can't recall which one it was. There is a replay that happened at home plate where the runner was called out, right?
Yes.
Was
that Gonzalez,
yeah,
I think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gonzalez was called out, and he was safe. We
Yeah.
all know he was.
Yeah.
Just by the replay.
That happened last night.
Was it last night?
He was called out. He was called out, and he ended up being set, but they called him out. But he was safe, and it was two nights ago.
Okay.
And he actually tweeted a picture of it. Did you see? Is that what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tweeted a picture out and said, "I'm not sure how this isn't safe." I mean, his hand was on the base, and and that was a huge turning point because then I think like the next inning or the inning after, the Cubs put up like 4 or 5 runs. And,
Definitely.
that was
The way I've always looked at it is, especially on these replays, there's got to be definitive proof. And from when I was watching it, there wasn't definitive proof that his hand was on that base before the tag was applied.
right.
And if there isn't enough information to overturn a call, you can't overturn a call. It sucks. Got to deal with it.
You have all angles.
But then there was a picture that he posted though that was clearly the tag hadn't been applied and his hand was on the base. But then last night, Baez had that incredible play in the 6th or 7th inning where Gonzalez bunted at him, totally not expecting a bunt. He was playing deep because Gonzalez has power,
right? And
he picked it up one-handed and fired it to first and got him by
very
eighth
close,
of a second.
yeah.
I mean, it was incredible, but they initially called it safe and replayed it, and I mean, he beat him by it was pretty slick.
You guys think replay should be in baseball?
Yeah, I do because the problem with replay, and it's like football. It's like we have all this technology now.
Exactly.
And you watch like golf. Some people don't watch golf. I watch golf. But you watch golf and they have that super slow-mo and the cameras are, and I know the cameras have to be stationary and it's real cool. You can see the blades of grass and everything.
Right.
And somehow in football and baseball, we can't get certain angles on the camera. Every game should have like 50 different cameras at every single angle. I mean, like the sideline angles and like stepping on the sidelines and stuff. It's incredible how they still don't get it right.
I'm completely the other school of thought. Leave it to the umpires.
Right.
Get away from these stupid replays and just let the players play the game.
Yeah.
Because it almost makes the umpires seem worse than what they actually are.
Absolutely.
And I think like 5-10 years ago, we weren't bashing on umpires like we do now.
Yeah.
And I think it's worse than ever. And people are saying, well, they need more education. They need to take more classes, make it their full-time jobs and stuff like that. But truth be told, it's probably the technology that's
you know what I'm afraid we're going to see in the next like 10, 15 years is like some sort of like sensor on the ball or on the player where I mean, seriously, like, did he touch the bag before the ball? But everything's got some sort of sensor technology where they can say, well, yeah,
just
like
let them play the game.
Like tennis, they've got the, that overhead thing in tennis. You've ever seen that? It's kind of cool, and they can tell exactly where the ball hit.
You're taking away the entire purpose of the game.
Yeah.
Let the umps ump.
Yep. There's human error involved, and sometimes it's favorable for one side, sometimes it's not.
Let the boys or girls play.
The
biggest problem I think I've got is the pitch tracks where there's some channels that'll leave it up for every single pitch.
Yeah.
And you can tell when the ball is out of sight of the strike zone or in, and that call may not be the same as the umps.
Right.
And people just absolutely go bonkers online.
And I like that. I like the fact that the umps control that part of the game. There's no replay on balls and strikes. That's just it. It's what they call, because that obviously is a huge part. But when making plays, trapping the ball, or I mean, somebody traps one on a dive in the outfield or something. That's where replay I think is huge. Or a ball down the line and it kicks up chalk and you can't tell.
It's not a. I mean, it is an umpire's call whether he's safe or out, but it's not like going to a base, I guess.
Right.
It's a play that the player's making.
Right. But again, there's human error involved. Sometimes there's no way to get a good angle on it where the ump's at. Where replay that it's needed there, and that's my opinion. Now, I would love to just let them play, but like last night, the Cubs benefited from replay twice.
Yeah.
One shouldn't have been called, or I guess 2 nights ago, but they did. I mean, so I don't know.
We'll leave them.
I'm on the replay side, I guess. Yeah, I'm on the replay side of it. I like the replay. I like making sure they get it right, but sometimes they don't get it right.
The umps always get it right.
Yeah, right.
The umps always get it right.
Right. Jones, sure. I don't know about that. If you're a Cardinals fan, they do, I'm sure. But,
Oh, wow.
come on, I had to take a little
local football out there. You guys watch local football, high school sports?
I went to Notre Dame, so
NCAA?
Notre Dame's had a pretty good year. I think they almost beat Central. That was a great game a couple weeks ago down at Dozer Park. But Central's they got some talent over there, man. They're pretty good. But Notre Dame, they got beat by. I think they got beat by I think they've got 2 or 3 losses now.
Okay.
But they could have very well beat Central. I think they had the lead in the fourth quarter, and Central scored two touchdowns late to put them over.
It was very
but,
close. I recall.
yeah.
I don't exactly remember the score.
Yeah.
I think it was the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It wasn't a
8-point game maybe or something. Yeah. So it was tight the whole way, but yeah, cool. Central's pretty good. But then I don't pay a lot of attention, but I know that that whole Metamora and Washington and Dunlap, all those schools playing each other. The 2 weeks ago or something, it's like they all there was a bunch of upsets there was. 2 weeks ago or something. Yeah, which is great. It's great to see.
Good.
I don't like to see one team dominate, but it's
high school football and NCAA is awesome.
Yes.
The finishing up here, we got about 3 minutes. So why should a business have some sort of protection for malware, ransomware, any type of security purposes?
Why should they?
Yeah.
Protect your data, man. That's
I think there's a laundry list of reasons why not. I mean, they need to.
Sure.
There's a lot of situations where you're going to run into where they would have been better off up front paying a small amount as opposed to after the fact, and now they've got to clean up a mess.
Right. I mean, for the, like he said, going back to his point, what you can pay a company like us is, a fraction of the cost of what do you even take to hire someone and have them work full time? Well, can they work 24/7? No. You have to hire 2 people. Well, so they're going to work 2 12-hour shifts. Think about that. I mean, if you really think about that, I mean, ours is a fraction of that. I mean, seriously, and
data breaches are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Keep that in mind. That's
sure.
We're talking north of $500,000. Big data breaches cost that much to have somebody forensically come in and actually build a case that can hand over to the authorities in order to actually apprehend the people that did it.
It's like a auto, home, and just insurance. You know what I mean? We were talking a little bit ago before we got started here. It's just like it's a safety blanket.
Sure.
You're better safe than sorry to have something to protect you.
No doubt, absolutely.
It's like driving without insurance.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting stuff there, right?
If you don't think it's going to hit you, and it's that thinking that's going to get you in trouble. I mean, seriously, that's absolutely the way it works. So,
one quick question before we close out here. I wrote down Mac versus Windows. People say Macs don't get hacked or anything like that. Is that true?
Linux.
They do, and while in years past they haven't been as insecure or targeted, they are now much more targeted.
Okay.
So you've seen the advent of a lot more malware targeted towards Macs.
Yeah, your iPhones and stuff aren't as secure as they used to be at all. Yeah, Android's definitely more exploitable, no doubt. But,
absolutely.
But yeah.
Wow. Cool. Glad that myth is out of there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Daily Energy every Friday at 9:30. This is Erick English of Cyan Incorporated, and then Cody. What's your last name again?
Kretsinger. It's all right.
Kretsinger. There we go. We are out, and have a fabulous rest of your weekend. Enjoy the weather. Thank you.
Thanks.